Dear students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. This module is titled Concepts of Population, Sample and Confidence Interval. As you all know, the population is the bigger one, right? The sample is a subset of the population. You can consider like the population as population of India. And if you are working with the cancer patients from India, you take some subset of the population. You select randomly around like 1,000 people amongst the whole Indian population, and you do your studies, the epidemiological studies or cancer screening studies or whatever the studies with that subset. So the subset is called sample, while the bigger one is called population. Sometimes your sample is the population. Examples would be the class. I'm actually teaching a group of like 50 students, and if I want to make any inference about them, for example, if I calculate the average marks obtained in that particular class, that class is my population. So its sample is population. That you should know it very clearly, that sometimes the population is sample. And the concept of population comes when you make a larger inferences. You take some sample, and based upon that sample you extend that sample to a larger larger group of people. In that case, then the population comes in. And for example, in the case of census, census is actually demographic data that actually screens the entire population. In census of India, for example, in that case it is a population. There is no sample picture involved at all. When you consider the sample a subset of the population, and if you calculate some test statistic, for example, average, the average of that sample of like 50 students, for example, out of a bigger university population, that is the sample. If you calculate an average or a standard deviation, whatever it is, the test static, you can use a test static called confidence interval to tell you how precisely you have determined that value in relationship with the value of the population. So in most situations, the value of population remains unknown to you. Only you know the value of the sample. For example, the marks of 10 students in my class, while the whole students of all over India in the gate, for example, we don't know exactly, that particular extension to the population is impossible. So I can calculate how precisely I have determined the statistic. For example, the mean, that is the average of my sample, by calculating the confidence interval. Confidence interval is excellent way to tell you how good that estimate is with respect to that population. You can many statisticians say confidence interval is a lot better way to tell you your confidence in that particular estimate, rather than telling you through the p values, which is highly criticized by most of the standard modern statisticians. And a number of papers are coming up with a lot of problems associated with the confidence, the p-value based confidence approach. So the confidence interval is a lot better approach. So in this module, I will tell you how to actually calculate the confidence interval of the mean, the sample mean. Of course, if you are working with the population mean, the confidence interval makes no sense, because population itself is the biggest one. There is nothing more than population. But if you are working with the sample mean, you would have to calculate the confidence interval to express how good that particular, how precise your estimate is in comparison with the population. So, and the confidence interval is also quite different from the concept of standard deviation. Standard deviation captures the variation of your data set, how variable. So if most of your data is clustered around your sample mean, then standard deviation will be low. If your variance is high, standard deviation will be high. But confidence interval has no property. It has nothing to do with the variance of your data sets. It has all to do with how precisely you have determined that particular test static. And apart from a mean, you can also use a confidence interval for n number of statistics of the sample. For example, standard deviation, you can calculate it. Poisson distribution, you can calculate it. Binomial distribution, you can calculate it. I will explain to you all in this today's module. So today, let me start with what exactly is a sample. Sample is a subset of the population. As I explained to you, you can consider like the Indian population as the population, while I choose a randomly allocated 100 or 1000 persons for my cancer screening, that will be my sample. So sample is always smaller than the population. The notations of the population and sample is a little bit different, so you should be very aware of these particular different notations. For example, mean is mu, while the population mean is mu, while the sample mean, the Latin is being used for most of the sample properties, while in the case of population, this Greek is used, right? Mu is a Greek letter to say the population mean, while in the case of sample mean, it is x bar. You can use that particular notation. Same with the variance, which is sigma square, while the variance of the sample is s square. So Latin is almost quite similar to the English, right? But in the case of Greek, which is actually mathematical notation that is being used. So confidence interval can be calculated for a number of statistics. It's not merely for the mean, but also for the proportion, standard deviation, and so on. It tells you how precisely you have determined that particular statistic as an estimate of the population statistic. Precision depends on the confidence level. So CL, confidence level, is the level of your precision of that particular estimate. Confidence level of 99 is more precise than 95, which is a lot better than 90. So as the confidence level increases, the level of precision also increases. Standard error of the mean is also quite related to the confidence interval, but again it tells you how precisely you have determined the population mean, but its confidence level is very low. That is the only problem with confidence, the SEM, that is standard error of the mean. The confidence level of SEM is around 60%, which is rather not acceptable in most of the disciplines of the sciences. So that is why a 95% confidence interval is a lot more precise and lot more useful test statistic. So confidence interval is a numerical presented as a sample mean plus or minus the width of the confidence interval, written as the lower limit to upper limit. So mean plus the width is your upper limit, mean minus the width is your lower limit. It's a similar way to the standard deviation. Standard deviation is also commonly presented as for example, the mean plus standard deviation and mean minus standard deviation, but these are not actually the limits. The standard deviation is presented as plus minus symbol, but in the case of confidence interval, it is actually written like in the limits. For example, if the width of the 95% of CI is 6 and mean is 51, the range is 51 plus 6, that is 57, and 51 minus 6, that is 45. So 45 to 57, so in bracket, so that is the standard way of saying the confidence interval, in bracket lower limit to upper limit. So 45 to 57. How do you represent that particular thing? Your conclusion would be 95% of the confidence interval, 45 to 57 contain the true value. So the true population value remains unknown to you, right? You are only have the data with you is your sample. So using the sample mean, you are estimating the population, the mean, right? Population mean is quite unknown to you unless you are doing some simulation studies. So in the samples mean, you can always say certain limits, upper limit and lower limit. So you have 95% confidence to affirm that the true population mean falls somewhere between these two numbers, 45 to 57. So what does that mean? Out of 20, one of your estimate is going to be false because it's 95%. You see, 95% means 5 wrong readings out of 100. So that is exactly same thing as 1 wrong reading out of 20 because of the random sampling, that you should be aware of it. So as you can see in this particular graph, there is x-axis and y-axis. The whole thing is all about the true population mean of this sample is around 35. All right, the true population mean. So I have two subset of this data. The first subset is mean of 5 random sample, which is bit higher than the true population mean, while mean of yet another 5 random sample is you can see that in the triangular dot, which is little bit lower than the true population mean. You see, so sometimes your random sample will have higher than the population, the true mean, or sometimes it is lower than the true population mean. So you need some estimate how precisely you have determined that sample mean. So that is where you have to use the confidence interval. for confidence interval of the mean, the assumptions are the samples are random homogeneous samples. So there is no heterogeneity. Heterogeneity means samples are non-random, so that should be avoided. Clumped cell, for example, if you are working with the biological sample, the cells, if the cells are clumped together, these are not homogeneous. You cannot calculate the CI of that particular sample. Patients taken from one particular clinic, again these are not these are absolutely non-homogeneous, these are heterogeneous population. Why it is like that? Because why a particular clinic has got that many number of patients, maybe it's because the patients are stratified, social stratification. Some clinics are targeted towards the lower class of people. Sometimes the clinics are expensive, clinics are affordable only for higher social stratification. So there are a lot of factors involved with the patients that prefer to go to a certain number of clinics. So these are not really a random sample. Independent observation is yet another hallmark of the CI of the mean. Not twins, not siblings, not family. Accurate data, of course the data has to be accurate, not tampering with the data, and approximately Gaussian, that is yet another hallmark. So the CI needs to be approximately Gaussian. So non-Gaussian, if you really know that it's non-Gaussian, for example logarithmic sample, so then log normal sample, so in that case you cannot use the CI as an estimate of the sample mean. The theory of confidence interval, basically the confidence interval connects the population with the sample. So CI of the mean is calculated via T distribution, which is a probabilistic distribution. The T distribution that you can see on the right side of this particular slide. T distribution connects the population to the sample. So the T, the test statistic, can be calculated as M minus mu. M is the sample mean minus mu, that is actually the population mean, multiplied by standard deviation by the root n. So standard deviation by the root n is nothing but standard error of the mean. So basically standard error of the mean multiplied with sample mean minus population mean is what you call the T. So as you see, the T depends mainly upon sample mean and the population mean, and as I explained to you earlier, sample mean are sometimes less than the population mean, sample mean are sometimes more than population mean. So M minus mu are sometimes negative, sometimes positive. So overall it is around 0, right? So that is why this particular T distribution is having a typical bell shaped graph, because most of the mode or the peak of that particular graph is centered around 0, because most of the time the sample are not too far away from the population, sometimes positive, sometimes negative, but overall it is around 0. So that is why it is that case. So if you do the rearrangement of that particular equation to calculate the T is equal to M minus mu multiplied by S by root n. So if you solve it for the mu, that is the population mean, I'm not actually solving it, but of course you can follow that step by step, a little bit of the tricky mathematics. But if you solve that solution, you will see that the population mean, that is mu, is equal to M. M is our sample mean plus or minus a width. So what is that width? Plus or minus T, the constant T multiplied by S by root n. So S by root n, as I told you earlier, S by root n is standard error of the mean. So multiplied with a constant from T distribution, that is T, that is a width of the confidence interval. So width of confidence interval plus or minus of the sample mean. So sample mean plus the width is one limit, sample mean minus the width is yet another limit. So that these are the limits of the confidence interval, lower limit and the upper limit. So steps of calculating the CI of the mean. The first is to calculate the width of the confidence interval, that is actually the number which we actually subtract from or add to the sample mean to get the limits. So width can be calculated as I told you, T multiplied by S by root n. That is a simple formula, or you can even say S by root n is standard error of the mean. So T multiplied by the standard error of the mean. So if you know the standard error of the mean, you can calculate the confidence interval by simply multiplying with T, a constant from T distribution. So what is that? A constant from T distribution? Does it have a constant value? No, it doesn't. T depends on two things. So T depends upon your the confidence level, how confident the approximate needs to be, and also T depends upon the degree of freedom. So the degree of freedom is normally n minus 1. So if your n is 25, degree of freedom will be 24. So if your n is 10, degree of freedom will be n minus 1, that is 9. So these two things the T depends upon. So if n is 24, degree of freedom is 23. So how would you calculate the T star for a particular confidence level? So confidence level, as a rule of thumb, in most of the cases we calculate confidence level at 95% confidence level. So confidence interval we normally calculate at 95%, but it could be 90%, it could be 99%. So it depends upon your situation that I will explain to you in the next module connected with the statistical hypothesis testing. So right now let us see how to calculate at 95% confidence level. So you can refer to the standard T distribution table appendix with most of the statistical tables and textbooks. So otherwise in the internet also you can see that, or a lot of statistical calculator also actually tell you exactly the value of T, the constant from the T distribution at a specific confidence level as well as a specific degree of freedom. So as you can see in this particular table, we are going at degree of freedom at 23 and the confidence level at 95. So the value is coming to be 2.0687. that is a T star, T, or the T is nothing but the constant from the T distribution. So now the constant is now ready with us, and as you can see here, mean of this data is 12.81 is known, standard deviation is 4.905 is also known, n is 24, that is also known. So all we have to do to calculate the width of this particular confidence interval is to substitute into that particular formula and derive it. If you solve it, that is 2.0687 multiplied by in bracket 4.905 divided by root 23. So that is what the n is, right? So if you calculate, then the value is coming to be 2.1158. as you can see, the whole step is mentioned in this slide. You can follow that one by one. So 95% CI is mean plus that width and mean minus that width. So it is going to be 10.6 to 14.9. So minus first, then plus. So 10.6 to 14.9. So I have already calculated 95% CI. So what does this number say? 10.6 to 14.9. So that means the true population mean is somewhere that falls between 10.6 to 14.9. Our calculated mean is 12.8, which is inside 10.6 to 14.9. If I calculate that 20 times, 19 times this mean will come between 10.6 to 14.9. So that is why, because it's at 95% confidence level. Of course, that to reiterate, confidence interval at 95% you can calculate by multiplying a constant from T distribution with standard deviation divided by root n. So standard deviation divided by root n is standard error of the mean. So standard error of the mean multiplied by a constant from a T distribution, you can calculate the confidence interval of the mean. So you can calculate in the Excel the same thing using a formula. T is equal to TINV in bracket alpha comma n minus 1 bracket close. So what is that? TINV is inverse T distribution and alpha is the level of significance. So level of significance is inversely proportional to your confidence level. For example, your confidence level for the last problem is 95%. So the level of significance is 100 minus 95 is what? 5. So it is basically 0.05. So it has to be the probabilistic value. So 0.05 significance level is equal to 95% confidence interval. So if you want to calculate that for 90%, 90 instead of 95, if I want to calculate for 90%, so 100 minus 90 is equal to 10. So it is basically 0.01. So because you have to divide by 100 because this is a probability. So alpha is dependent upon your confidence level, chosen confidence level. So as a rule of thumb, if you choose confidence level at 95%, alpha has to be 0.05. So alpha n minus 1. So you can calculate that way. So as you can see in this particular graph, so the one basic property of this confidence interval is as sample size increases, confidence interval width is very less, so it becomes narrower. You know, as you increase the sample number, confidence interval will become narrower. So, well, that is expected, right? So if you have a lot of sample, then you know, the test statistic, whatever you say, for example, the mean you say, you're highly confident that this is the population mean. So it all depends upon the sample, right? And the confidence interval is also dependent upon the level of confidence you want to say. For example, if you want to be very high confident, 99% is the confidence level, then in that case the confidence interval has to be very wider. And if you are fine to tolerate a lower level of the confidence, for example 90%, then the confidence interval will become narrower. And if you are again fine, well, I don't think anybody will be fine at 60% of the confidence, you know, and that is exactly what SEM is all about. It's extremely narrow at 60%, but your confidence is very less, right? SEM is 60% the confidence level of that, right? So as a standard rule of thumb, it's like 95% would be just fine enough. So 95% CI is arbitrarily used, so 95% certain that the population mean falls between the range. So as you can see in this particular image, upper panel shows 10 sets of data n is equal to 5 randomly drawn from the Gaussian distribution with a mean of 100 and a standard deviation of 35. The lower panel shows 95% CI of the mean of each sample. So as you can see on the lower panel, the confidence interval is what is being plotted, the upper limit and lower limit. So of this 10 sample, one sample, the range did not include the true population mean. The true population mean is the dash, the dotted line. So 90 or you can say 90% or 9 sample out of 10, the range did include the population mean, the true population mean, but one sample it did not include. So that is what expected if your if your CI is 90%. So if your CI is 95%, one sample out of 20 you will expect by random chance the true population mean would not be included in the limits of the confidence interval. So you can calculate the confidence interval using a number of standard software tool. For example, as you can see here, this is by the GraphPad Prism, which is what I prefer to do the statistics in. You can also give it a try in. So the GraphPad Prism will tell you how to calculate. I mean, it's actually very simple to calculate that one. As you can see in this particular diagram, on the first row is basically the first data row, that is A row, is about the population. We already know the population of my class, for example 34 students, and I calculate the mean of that population, that is 11.87. And out of 34, I randomly chosen 5 students, and then I recalculated their mean. So mean is 11.6. So from this mean I can calculate the confidence level, 95% confidence level, so which is around 2.5 to 20.6. So 2.5 to 20.6 is my 95% confidence interval of my sample, the subset of 5 students, right? So it did include the true population mean, which is 11.87, as you can see on my right side. So you can see that this is something called column scatter. The points on, each dot is actually the true reading, right? The column scatter. So on the graph you can see that the first graph is basically the population, and the second one is my sample with the error bars as confidence interval. So my confidence interval of the sample did include my population, the true population mean. There is yet another approach to calculate the CI of sample by resampling. That is a very intuitive approach, the resampling method, or the bootstrapping, or computationally intensive approach. There are so many names for it, but it's really intuitive, very interesting approach. So how does that work? So suppose the subset of mark, the random sample of 5 students, 22, 14, 11, 2 and 9. Step 1 is rank order, the ascending order of that one, right? So I can put the rank as well. The lowest scoring is 2, then 9, 11, 14, 22. So I have to assign them the rank 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Step number 2 is to make a new subset by picking 5 random integers from 1 to 5. So these are the rank. I just have to pick out of these 5 numbers, you can think like I actually put chits, pieces of paper, and I put that into a box. So number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I pick one number, let it be 3, then I put it back, I shuffle again, I put, it could be 3 again, or it could be 2, that way 5 rank I reconstitute. Then I have to do the sample once again. So that particular sample is known as pseudo sample. From the same sample, I'm making yet another sample from the ranks. You should know the repetitions are allowed. Sometimes it's all about number 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. It could be the case. So, or 1, 1, 1, 5, 5. Or 3, 3, whatever it is, right? So these are called a pseudo sample. So you're doing this pseudo sample or pseudo replication. The process of making pseudo sample is known as pseudo replication. You're doing that so many times, around 500 times or 1000 times. So you're making that many pseudo sample. So that's why these are computationally expensive method for calculating the CI of mean. And now after calculation, the next step is to order those means, the total 500, each of the pseudo sample. Of course you have to calculate the mean of the first sample, second sample, third sample, then rank order it. Then you have to pick the percentile, 97.5 percentile and 2.5 percentile. So your 2.5 percentile will be your lower limit, 97.5 percentile will be your upper limit. And why? What is so magical about these two numbers? Because as you can see, 97.5 minus 2.5 is 95. So 95 is the confidence level that you are actually looking for. So to calculate 95% confidence interval, you have to reduce you have to pick 2.5 and 97.5. So that is how you are actually calculating this particular score. Resampling approach is also called bootstrapping or computer intensive method, and extensively used in phylogenetics and genomic data. For example, if you want to calculate the phylogenetic the statistical score for a phylogenetic tree, so the test of phylogeny is normally by bootstrapping, or also known as yet another method is jackknifing. But so bootstrapping, you can actually resample the same tree again and again to see the support of that particular branch. So that is why it is quite often used in molecular genetics and molecular phylogenetics, as well as for the genomics. Confidence interval can also be calculated not merely for the mean, but also for the standard deviation, and the difference between the two group means a proportion, which is a binomial distribution. You can also calculate for the ratio of the proportions, a best fit slope for the linear regression, the best fit value of EC50 determined by the non-linear regression, the ratio of median survival times of the two groups. So many test statistics, you can actually calculate the confidence interval of that particular statistic. CI tells you how precisely you have determined that particular value. Given certain assumptions, you can be 95% sure that the 95% CI contains a true population value. So that is what you can actually see that. You can also use certain Excel equations to calculate the confidence interval of the standard deviation that is actually shown in this particular slide, that you can try it out in your Excel. How do you calculate confidence interval of the counted data? The counted data, as you can see, that is actually the Poisson distribution. So counted data like the mutations in DNA molecules or number of raisins in a laddu follow the Poisson distribution. So CI can be determined from the count alone. So if you are based upon, like, after dissecting 10 laddus, you're getting 25 raisins, then your confidence interval should be based on the total count, that is 25, not on the average, right? That's extremely important. So for this particular problem, we have to calculate 95% CI of the number of raisins per laddu. So of course there is an online calculator at the stat pages, you can go and check it out. All you have to input is the count is 25, and you have to click at 95% CI. It will tell you 16.2 to 36.9. So that is what the count of that particular value is, right? So CI per laddu is 1.62 to 3.69. Later you have to convert that score to CI per laddu, that is 1.62 to 3.69. So when the count is more than 25, so 95% CI is approximately C minus 1.96 root C to C plus 1.96 root C. So this is a good approximation if your C is more than 25. So a common mistake while using this one is that you must base the calculation on the actual number of objects or the events counted, that is the C. Any normalization like percentage, average, etc. should be done after the CI is computed. The confidence interval should be based upon the total count, not based upon your average or any normalization. For example, in our earlier problem, don't take the average of the raisins per laddu 2.5 as a count. In that case, CI would be 0.6 to 7.2. You should take the C as 25, the total, and calculate the CI 16.1 to 36.9. Finally, divide the CI with the number of observation 10 to get the CI per event 1.6 to 3.6. You see that the CI calculated this way 1.6 to 3.6 is narrower than the earlier way, that is actually 0.6 to 7.2, which is a lot wider. Confidence interval of the binomial distribution. Binomial distribution is nothing but proportion in a population. For example, proportion of monoecious plants in a quadrat, proportion of allele of or a genotype in a population, proportion of students who pass biostatistics, proportion of head out of 10 coin flips. These are all binomial distribution. The Bernoulli trials. 45 out of 100 were females. Calculate 95% CI. How do you calculate that? It's actually very simple. Either you can use modified Wald's method as explained in this particular slide, or you can use a number of online statistical calculator. You just have to input your ratio so that it will actually tell you exactly what is your CI, 95% CI. So 95% CI is 0.35 to 0.55. So that is what we have already calculated, the 95% CI of that particular proportion. So what does that mean? There is a 95% chance that this CI contains a true population proportion, because this is a subset, this is a sample. So as an estimate of the true population proportion, these two numbers, in between these two numbers, so the range contains the true proportion of the population. That is the meaning of that. Again, assumptions are random sample and independent events, accurate data. So these three assumptions are almost uniform across the statistics. So independent, the events have to be independent. The dependency is not actually, for example, twins or family should not be used, and the data of course has to be accurate, and the samples have to be random. So as you can see in this slide, this is the online calculator which I used to calculate this particular thing. There are a lot of calculators, you can try it out. Another example, out of 10 plants studied, one plant had capital A small a genotype, AA genotype. The rest had capital A genotype, Now calculate the frequency of A allele, that is actually small a, that is the recessive allele, with 95% CI. How do you calculate this one? So as you see that allele is just a gene variety, right? Allele A. So genotype is always, it's a diploid organism genotype. So you should not actually base your calculation upon 10, though I told you 10 plants. So though the 10 plants together will have 20 alleles. So out of 20 alleles, only one plant had AA genotype. All the rest had capital A genotype. So out of 20, there is only one small a. All the rest, that is 19, are capital A. So you have to input that in your binomial confidence interval calculator. Numerator will be 1, denominator will be 20, that is total will be 20. So and if you click the compute, the number is going to be, the exact confidence interval around the proportion is 0.0013 to 0.2487. So this is a range for this particular thing. Yet another problem here for you to solve. There were a total 10,000 deaths in an island over a period of 100 days. What is the average death of this island? Death per day. Average is actually very easy to calculate. Now, what is the 95% CI of this average? So as you see, this is a proportion you can actually calculate. You have to input in the same calculator that will tell you exactly what is the 95% of that CI. So a common mistake is that never use 100 as a denominator when the value is in percentage. CI depends upon the sample size. So you should use actual data, not expressed in percentage. For example, 2 out of 18 giraffes observed shows albinism. You should calculate CI for 2 out of 18. 2 is numerator, 18 is denominator. Not 11.11, that is in percentage. 2 out of 18 is 11.11 percentage, where white giraffe. So you cannot calculate 11.11 as a numerator and 100 as denominator. So that is actually wrong. So it has to be based upon the actual number of observations that you have seen that in your empirical data. So confidence interval is a range, lower limit to the upper limit. Now what is this confidence limit? Two values that limit this range is called confidence limit. So upper limit to the lower limit, or lower limit to the upper limit, that is the confidence interval. So the desired amount of statistical confidence is called confidence level. So for example, if you want a very high confidence in your results, you should choose 99% confidence level and generate 99% CI. So an advice is to emphasize confidence interval over the p-values. So one famous quote by Honig and Hasey, the American statistician, they two are quite famous statisticians, are imperfectly understood confidence intervals are more useful and less dangerous than incorrectly understood p-values and hypothesis tests. So we will be elaborating hypothesis tests and p-values in our next module. Now in summary, confidence interval is a very excellent tool to calculate how precise your sample estimate is connected with the population estimate. As you see, the sample is a subset of the big population, and the T, that is basically the confidence the T is basically the T distribution connects your sample to the population, right, through the particular equation which I elaborated in this particular module. So confidence interval, you can use confidence interval not merely for the mean, but also for the standard deviation, and also for Poisson data like number of mutations in a particular stretch of DNA molecule, or a binomial distribution, for example the genotype calculations and all. And therefore the confidence interval is extremely important, and CI is probably more important and often overlooked than the p-values in the statistical hypothesis testing. Thank you.